Hey guys, welcome to Nutrition for Wellness, Part 2, Chapter 3. The greatest challenge is not always a lack of knowledge on the personal trainer side, but rather a lack of consistent regulation in nutrition laws and practices from state to state. Therefore, trainers must not only develop a comfort level with the topic of nutrition, they must also understand the governing laws of the state in which they practice and clearly define their scope of practice. I know that every state varies, but here in the state of South Carolina, you cannot promote yourself as a dietitian or nutritionist. That means you can't offer individualized meal plannings, recommendations. You can't conduct a nutritional assessment, none of that. You have to be an RDA or a nutritionist, period. If you do that, you're going against the law. Supplements do not supply all the nutrients and other beneficial substances present in food and needed for good health. Wholesome foods contain vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, fiber, proteins, fats, phytochemicals, and other substances not yet discovered. A registered dietitian can help you determine if supplementation is needed. Functional foods, or foods ingredients that offer specific health benefits beyond those supplied by traditional nutrients they contain. Tomato is a great example of a functional food because it contains phytochemical lycopene, thought to reduce prostate cancer risk. With organic foods, there's no solid evidence that they're more nutritious than conventional foods. Pesticides exposure is relatively low for adults, and organic foods and livestock are produced under strict governmental regulations. There's still some risk. The best safeguard is to follow food safety regulations. And believe it or not, with genetically modified crops, they say there are some benefits, such as they resist disease and extreme environmental conditions. They require less fertilizer and pesticides. They last longer, better nutrient content and taste, and they save billions of dollars and help feed the hungry. So I'll let you decide. Energy substrates for physical activity, glucose, which is sugar, and fatty acids are the two main fuels that supply energy for physical activity. We also have amino acids from proteins that are used as an energy substrate when glucose is low, and ATP. ATP is for immediate energy. ATP can be generated in three ways: through the ATP-CP system. CP stands for creatine phosphate, and stored creatine phosphate provides energy for about 10 seconds. We also have the anaerobic and lactic acid system and the aerobic system. These three things you really need to know. Generally, athletes do not require special supplementation or diet. Dietary deficiencies should be corrected. Protein in excess of 20% of total daily caloric intake is not necessary, even in strength training and bodybuilding. Athletes require more calories daily and more carbohydrate intake during prolonged physical activity. For carbohydrates, if you heard of carb loading before, this just replenishes glycogen storage, which is needed for sustained exercise greater than 90 minutes. On the day of the long-distance event, carbs are the recommended substrate choice. During the long-distance event, consume 30 to 60 grams every hour. Osteoporosis is a condition in which bones become so weak and brittle that they fracture readily. Primary sites include the hip, wrist, and spine, and it accelerates in women when the bone-protecting level of estrogen is reduced after menopause. Adequate calcium intake and sufficient physical activity are essential. Excessive protein causes calcium to be taken from bones. Factors that affect bone health: normal hormone levels prior to menopause, adequate calcium intake, physical activity throughout life strengthen the bones. Smoking, excessive alcohol, corticosteroid drugs accelerate the rate of bone loss. Whites, Asians, and small frame people are more likely to suffer. With iron deficiency, iron is the key element of hemoglobin in the red blood cell. Lack of iron leads to anemia, lower amounts of red blood cells, and the resulting of fatigue. Physically active adult individuals, women in particular, have a greater than average need for iron. Issued by the Dietary Guidelines Advisory Committee to the Secretaries of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the USDA, this is intended for people 2 years and older, emphasizing eating and physical activity patterns focused on consuming fewer calories, making informed food choices, and being physically active. Proper nutrition is one of 3 significant contributors to health, longevity, and quality of life. This places a far greater emphasis on preventing obesity in youth and adults. Follow a lifetime healthy nutrition plan. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Despite evidence linking poor diets to early disease and mortality rates, many people remain in the pre-contemplative stage. The motivating factor for them changing is because of a major health breakdown. You need to implement dietary guidelines early. This increases your chances of preventing chronic diseases and reaching a higher state of wellness.